make it happen. This is Behind the Voice. I'm your host, Chris Diaz. This is the first show, hopefully the first of many. I I've been wanting to get into radio of some kind for quite some time now. I've been listening to talk radio for years now, ever since I started high school, and I think it's just fascinating how much how much can get done with just words over the radio, and actually how much people listen to talk radio. And I think it's a good medium for communication and for getting ideas out there. So basically, how the show is going to work is we're going to do a little news, talk a little bit about what's going on. We're going to do some quick sports. We're also going to talk about psychology news. Um, I think I think psychology is very important in our world today, and I think it's a growing field that everyone really needs to start taking a little more seriously. So we're going to review some psychology articles and news each show, and keep everyone updated and talk a little bit about that. Let's see. We're also going to do a This Day in History, just a little fun bit. And also, I'm going to work very hard at playing a different song every show. My goal is to expose everyone to something a little different. Um, Personally, I'm fond of techno, dance, and trance, uh, especially vocal trance. But so you'll hear that, but you'll hear some other things, mostly coming from my own playlist, which you'll find out that it's very it's very diverse, and some songs will come from the internet, and who knows, we'll take suggestions and I'll see if I can put it up on the show. Also, feel free to email me or contact me via Facebook or Twitter, or contact the show through YouTube or Ustream. This way, you can ask questions, make comments, suggestions, whatever you think will help the show, or whatever you want to know about the show, whatever you just want to know in general. So let's get started with a little news. All right, the Michael Jackson trial is on. Conrad Murray is accused of involuntary manslaughter, and the trial started a couple days ago. And CNN is reporting that Conrad Murray requested CPR equipment and a second doctor. This was all before a contract was even signed for a doctor to be assigned to Michael Jackson. The prosecution says that the negligence comes from a lack of monitoring. Well, here's the deal. Michael Jackson was very famous, very rich, very influential, very powerful. And if he indeed was addicted to drugs, I don't think there's anyone that was going to stop him. Um, Unless he was put on 72-hour watch or constant surveillance. So he would have needed some intense therapy, and I don't think he was going to get that. So in my opinion, it doesn't seem like the doctor was going to be able to do much. I heard the tape that was played of one of the times when Michael Jackson was like clearly loaded on something, and it sounded like it sounded like he was an inch away from a coma. It was pretty crazy. And I think someone who's that addicted, it's just not going to happen without some serious treatment. And so I don't think there's much of a case here, but this is America, so we can make a legal case out of anything, and who knows, Conrad Murray could very well go to jail for this. I guess we'll have to see how that pans out, and keep you updated on that. Another news piece is an opinion piece on CNN that compared the Republican debate to gladiators fighting in the Colosseum, with the audience booing and cheering. Now, honestly, I think this race is starting too early. I mean, I'm sure the public is interested, but for me, I think the closer we get to the elections, the more interested I'll be. And the fact that we have this guy, Dean Obeidallah. I hope I'm not saying that name incorrectly, but he writes about this, and I think he's got a point, but I think people could misread it. And I think what he's trying to say is that we're watching this like it's a fight, like it's entertainment, like we get stimulated by it. We're not as concerned with the facts and with what these potential candidates could actually do for the country, rather than seeing it as some soap opera. And it seems almost like it's a way to vent as well. These candidates are letting out frustration, and there's just too much division and too much fighting on both sides. It's why we were so close to defaulting on how much we owed. It's why the decision came within a day of us not being able to pay what we owed as a country. And I have to blame Obama. I fully supported him when he was running, and I somewhat support him now, but I'm worried about his confidence. It seems like he doesn't have the ability to actually make change. Now, he can give a great speech. That's no doubt. He can engage people. He can have people cheer for him. He can get people's full undivided attention. But when it comes to actually making decisions, it seems like he gives in way too much. This new Jobs Act, he's basically presenting ideas that the Tea Party and other Republicans already proposed, and he's saying, here, these are your ideas. It's almost like he's trying to get people to like him, like he's trying to get the Republican Party and their supporters on his side. And that's not, to me, that's not what it's about. It's not about how many people like you. It's about making the tough decisions. Of course there are going to be people that don't agree with the decisions he makes. That's a given. But he has to make a decision one way or the other. He can't keep standing in the middle between the left and the right. And actually, Bill Maher said something really interesting. And he's said it multiple times, and he says it over and over again, that the left has now become the center, and the right has ended up in a mental institution. And while that is humorous, it's kind of true. The left is giving in and sacrificing more than the right. And sure, in a utopian world, everyone would compromise equally, but this sort of extreme is just out of hand. So going back to the original news piece, these debates, they're going to grab people's attention more and more as time goes on. Now, I don't think they mean that much. You keep having a new front runner come up. Now they're talking about they want New Jersey Governor Chris Christie to join the race. I mean, it really seems like a soap opera at this point, and it's kind of disrespectful to the country that we're turning this way, and we're not doing this a little more properly with a little more etiquette. I mean, that's just my opinion. All right, the second story, going to a little bit of economical news. Best Buy is hiring fewer holiday workers this year. They report that they are going to hire 15,000 extra workers for the holiday season. This is compared to 29,000 last year. And this all speaks about the unemployment rate and the problem with the economy. The current unemployment rate stands at 9.1%. And there's, so many debates over what to do about this and how are we going to solve this? How are we going to reduce the unemployment rate? How are we going to create jobs? So many questions and so many ideas put out there. And I think people are really losing sight of what the source of the problem is. And I'm going to be totally honest here. It has to do with an increase in population, but more specifically, an increase in the population of people who are uneducated and people who exploit the government for programs such as, the WIC program, welfare programs. I come from a pretty rough community, and I saw it growing up, and I still see it today. People take advantage of these systems, and it, it adds up. It's a drain. Just some quick numbers here. The population of the United States in 2000 was 281 million. It is currently around 311 million. And some researchers project that it'll be around 336 million in 2020 and around 420 million in 2050. So we keep increasing the population and somehow we keep losing jobs. Quite simply, I know that's a very simple way of putting it. Those numbers just don't match. The unemployment rate will continue to go up. And like I said, it's specific populations that keep increasing. It's the population of teenage pregnancies where, these girls are having kids that, I mean, the research supports it. These kids don't grow up and go to college. They don't end up in the top tier of salaries. These people populate the prisons. They are contributing to the unemployment rate. So I think part of the solution is not to just create jobs. And when that phrase is thrown around a lot, creating jobs, they don't talk about which jobs are created. These aren't uh, um, mid-level or mid-range jobs where people are getting paid the amount to be put in the middle class category. These are low paying jobs that keep people at or below the poverty line. So I think as a nation we need to start addressing issues really at their source for what the problem really is. These it's the kind of people where we're breeding basically in this country and we're allowing to come in as well. And I know that opens a whole different can of worms about immigration, which I'm sure I'll talk about on another show. But, you know, I think, as I said at the beginning, psychology is a huge part of societies, and I think we need to put more emphasis on it. And I think part of it is the damage that's being done to the youth of this country. What's happening to them. There's an increase in single parent families, which has shown to stunt development in the brain. These kids are growing up, and they're just continuing the cycle. And it's sad to say, but I think, I'm not proposing this as the be-all and end-all solution to the unemployment rate and our country's economic woes. But I do think that it's one way we need to approach the solution. The solution is a multifaceted one. It's one that has to come from all sorts of angles. And I think one that doesn't get enough attention is this psychological angle. So, and with that, I think that transitions quite nicely into our psych news for the day. So, Tufts University, Stanford, and UC Irvine found that perception of race can be altered by cues to social status, such as the clothes someone wears. Participants in this study were asked to judge race of computerized faces. Those that were wearing business attire were more likely to be viewed as white, while those wearing, and this is how they put it, janitor attire, were more likely to be viewed as black. And even when the opposite was true, when business attire faces were viewed as black and janitor attires were viewed as white, participants were shown to initially move the mouse of the computer to the other choice. So this really speaks a lot to the racial stereotypes that still exist in this country. And it's kind of frightening because some of my peers and others in my age group are just starting their job seeking and their careers, and it's kind of scary to think that what you wear, can determine how people think of you. Okay, you can give me the extreme, the guy wearing the baggy jeans, the backwards hat, and the hoodie, and okay, that's the extreme. But I mean, why is it that we view people in business attire more as white if their skin complexion is sort of somewhere in the middle, a little lighter than darker? Which subsequently leads to other stereotypes, because once the stereotype of a race is in place, then more stereotypes follow that. And it's this trickle down effect that I think can be pretty scary for people looking for work. It can be scary for someone even just shopping, in a department store. They're going to get judged differently. Also people looking for apartments. It's sad that you might miss out on a great place to live because of these stereotypes and these ideas that people have about you before they even talk to you. They might just see a name or a picture, and before they even hear you speak, they've made a decision and a choice about how they're going to treat you, the decisions they're going to make regarding you, whether it's the person in charge of choosing who lives in the apartment, or the person who's in charge of hiring for a job. It's these things don't go away. They don't go away they don't go away with action as much as they would with time. I think if we can take solace in anything, it's time, because we have progressed from, say, 60 years ago, of course, but there's still a lot of work to be done on both sides. And I think sometimes too much action is taken that results in nothing, basically. I think patience and time are things that will go a long way to reversing or fixing these stereotypes. Alright, so on to a second article. Researchers at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center studied hookah. This is, I think this would be particularly interesting to high school and college students. I mean, I know plenty of people who took part in that. And so this article says that hookah is used by about 40.3% of college students, compared to 46.6% who smoke cigarettes. Now, the interesting thing is that most of these hookah users perceived it as safer than smoking cigarettes. This has turned out to not be true. I mean, I remember having conversations with my peers about this, and I didn't think that it was actually all that dangerous either. I thought it was much safer than cigarette smoke because of filtering and because of the water and all sorts of things. But you actually inhale more tobacco smoke. With hookah, there's deeper inhaling and longer durations of inhaling, and they're like sessions. It's not just like a quick cigarette smoke. A quick cigarette break. So it turns out that these things are actually more dangerous for you than cigarettes. So, a word of caution: if you consider doing it, consider it a risk that is equal to smoking cigarettes, if not more dangerous. And keep up on articles like this before you partake in any potentially risky behavior. Alright, now on to a little bit of sports. Now, this is going to be my favorite show, and I'm glad it's the first show and it's happening now, because last night, or actually 2 nights ago, had to be the greatest day in the history of baseball. I mean, you can compare it to all sorts of moments. The Bob Gibson game, the Babe Ruth, Roger Maris's 61st home run, Ted Williams hitting over 400, the 2003 ALCS, the 78 playoff game. Let me tell you something. September 28th was a day that was just crazy for baseball. So I'll quickly paint the picture. 6 of the 8 playoff spots were already filled by the Yankees, the Tigers, the Rangers, the Phillies, the Brewers, and the Diamondbacks. The only 2 spots were the AL wildcard and the NL wildcard. Now, going into the final game of the season, there was a tie for both. In the AL wildcard, the Red Sox and the Rays were tied. So, basically, whoever won, if they won and the other team lost, the team that won would, of course, win the other spot. In the National League, the Braves and the Cardinals were tied for first in the wild card. So, same deal there. Now, if both teams lost, they would have to play a tiebreaker. And if both teams won, they would have to play a tiebreaker, which would have occurred yesterday. However, many, many interesting things happened. So, in the NL wild card, just to get that out of the way quickly, because it wasn't as thrilling, I would say, the Cardinals took care of the Astros quite easily. Chris Carpenter, the ace of the Cardinals, threw a complete game and shut them out. And the Cardinals scored 7 runs and won the game 7-0. So that put all the pressure on the Braves, who at one point had a 3-1 lead on the Phillies late in the game, but Chase Utley tied it in the ninth, and they went into extras. And the Phillies took the lead in the 13th, and that was it. They took care of the Braves in the bottom of the 13th. The Cardinals won the wild card, and they'll be facing the Phillies in the division series. Now the AL wild card. Here's where it gets really interesting. So the Red Sox were playing the Orioles, and the Rays were playing the Yankees. Now, on paper, this looked easy. It looked like, okay, the Yankees are going to dominate the Rays, and the Red Sox are going to dominate the Orioles. So Red Sox are going in. However, some pretty mysterious things happened. In the Red Sox game, they had a 3-2 lead going into the ninth inning, with Papelbon pitching the ninth for the save. Now, I know everyone's going to give me the argument that, oh, he was tired, he had pitched 28 pitches the day before, and 30 or 30 plus the day before that, or something like that. Here's the deal. If you put him in the game, that means you expect him to be ready to go. And Francona put him in. That's it. And he actually looked like he was going to take care of business quite easily. He got the first 2 outs on strikeouts. Everything was looking good. And then a double, another double to tie the game, and a single, and the Orioles won it. 4-3 with 2 outs, and Papelbon looking like he was gonna put the Red Sox into the playoffs. The Orioles, the last place team in the American League East, with only 64 wins, I believe, came back with 2 straight doubles and a single to win the game. So the Red Sox were now hoping that the Rays would lose, and it was looking good for them. It looked like there was going to be a tiebreaker game yesterday. The Yankees were quite literally destroying them. They had a 7-0 lead going into the 8th inning. And then the Rays just exploded and scored 6 runs in the 8th. And then here's the interesting thing. In the 9th inning, it looked like, okay, it's over. They're about to lose. The Rays had already 2 outs. Nobody was on base. And the hitter was Dan Johnson, a guy who's barely hitting over 100. He hadn't taken a swing or gotten a hit, I believe, since April. So he comes up to the plate, and there's a 2-2 count. So 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. The Yankees are up 7-6. You would think, all right, this is in the books. Tiebreaker game is going to happen. And he hits a home run to tie the game 7-7. I was shocked, to say the least. I mean, I was happy. As a Yankee fan, I have to say I was happy. But I was shocked. I didn't think it was going to happen. And so the game went into extra innings, and the Rays had close calls. There was a point where the Yankees, I believe, had runners on first and third with nobody out and didn't score. And then the 13th inning rolls around, or the 12th. I have to check that. But Evan Longoria comes up and hits a home run. Rays win the game, win the wild card, and are going to be facing the Rangers in the first round. It was quite an exciting day for baseball, I have to say. And I also have to say that I'm still happy and excited over the Red Sox collapse. It is the worst in the history of baseball. They were up 9 games in the division, or in the wild card, coming into September. It is the worst collapse in the history of baseball. Nobody going into September with a 9-game lead ever blew it. They were the first. In tomorrow's show, I'll preview the playoffs, and actually, I won't just preview the playoffs. I'll talk about the AL Division Series, which will have been the game ones of both games will have been completed. So I'll talk about those for a little bit, and yeah, and I hope that my sports segment didn't run too long. Give me some feedback on that. Let me know if you want to hear more sports or more news, more psychology. Whatever you want to hear more of, I'll do more of, and I'll do less of whatever you don't want to hear. So yeah, we'll talk about that, and then on Sunday or Monday, I believe, I'll talk about all of the football action that went on, and talk about the Jets, the Giants, the Patriots, and all the 0-3 teams, and see if some of them could actually pick up a win. All right, so that's it for the sports segment. Now I'm going to play a song. I think what I'll do is I'll play it first before giving out the name. This way, it's sort of a mystery or a surprise when you hear it. So here it goes.
Every promise, every memory, all the tears that I've cried, every loving word I said to me, all was just a lie. Every single word that I believe, every look in your eyes, every time you said you never leave, all just mean goodbye. Caught in the present of your lies and the loneliness inside, you made me feel it. Caught in the prison of your lies and the emptiness inside, you made me feel it. Caught in the present of your lies and the loneliness inside, you made me feel it. Caught in the prison of your lies and the emptiness inside, on my knees. Love has left me broken on my knees, crying out in the rain, lonely and forever lost in dreams, calling out your name. Every promise, every memory, all the tears that I've cried, every time you said you never leave, all just mean goodbye. Caught in the present of your lies and the loneliness inside, you made me feel it. Caught in the prison of your lies and the emptiness inside, you made me feel it. Feeling
you enjoyed the song. That was My Story by Celia. Now, again, I'm always open to feedback. If you want to hear more of a certain genre or even a specific song or a specific artist, I'll do my best to get it in the show. Perhaps some days when news is a little light, I'll play 2 songs. I'm sort of just going to roll with the punches as I go through each show. Alrighty, well, that's the show. The inaugural show. My first one. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you continue to tune in. Um, it's been interesting, and like I said, this show is for you, the listeners, and whatever you think will improve the show. I'm open to everything. You can reach me on Facebook. You can check me out on my personal page. The name is Chris Diaz. You can check the Behind the Voice Facebook page. You can subscribe on YouTube to Behind the Voice. We're also on Ustream. Ustream is great. It's live. It's happening. You know, I love it. And you can also contact us on Twitter. I'm still working on the Twitter account, so I'll get back to you with the specific name with which you can contact me through Twitter. And for now, I'll say so long, and hope you have a great day.